right, so when it comes to tiling a curbless shower and bathroom floor, there's a couple things obviously everything depends on the design and the actual tiles that you're planning on installing. So every situation is a little bit different, but for the most part, the order of operation that you usually want to do this is set your outside floor tile first, do your shower floor next, and then do all your wall tile. Typically, I do the back wall and then the side walls last. The main reason that you want to be setting your tile on the outside floor, especially if you're having two different styles of tile. So a lot of times people are going to use bigger tiles on the outside floor and then a mosaic for the inside floor. Not always the case. If you were doing everything mosaic, then I would say you're basically going to be setting the entire floor all together all at once. But if you're doing bigger tile, so we're just doing 6x6s on this outside floor, you're going to want to set the outside floor first, primarily so that when you have thin set underneath of this, you can actually build up the thin set layer underneath of this floor tile to meet up with the outside floor. So it's really important, you know, for this transition coming in here, that it's all even. You don't want to have any type of a step. So if you were to set the shower floor first, you're going to end up with some gnarly step coming outside of the shower that you're not going to be able to address. So that's the primary reason why you want to do the outside floor first. Now, the transition here doesn't have to be exactly that. You could be in a little bit more or a little bit past it. It's not going to be a big deal because this tile is thicker than this tile. So this is basically 3/16 inch tile. This is 1/4 inch. So you have plenty of room. So even if you wanted to come out an inch out of the shower, you're still going to have the slope here to be able to pitch towards the shower. So you have the flexibility to set this floor where you want. And the way I'm going to determine where I want this transition is primarily by the layout of my shower tile floor. So I think we're going to end up doing the hexagonal tile this way. So we want to try to, eliminate having any type of sliver. Like I wouldn't want to have it like right here where I have like a 1-inch cut part mark. It's going to look pretty ugly. It's not going to be, something that's ideal. What I'm really going to want to do is have it set so that it's right at the full edge of the tile. So I have a half tile of the hexagon and a full tile, and that's going to look like you planned ahead and made that happen. So that's what we're going to do first. We're going to template the shower floor, and then we're going to determine where we want our transition because we have the flexibility to move this out. So this is a really important concept if you want your tile design to look professional and like everything was planned, and that's what this whole planning stage is about. So take your time templating things, laying out your tiles so that you have a good plan of attack, so when you set the floor, everything works out the way it should. So for templating, I really love using this stuff. You could get this from Lowe's. It's called Shore Ply, but it's just 1/4 inch, basically Luan plywood. But what I really like about it is that it's pretty quality stuff. So when you cut this down, you can make some nice straight edges for your templating. So a sheet of this isn't too much, but you want to rip this down into 2-inch strips so that you can actually template the floor. Okay, so we're going to get more into the actual setting of the drain with tiling, but in order to template this, we need to put this drain in so that we can template around it. So this drain cover basically comes with 3 different parts. One is the actual flange that you're basically going to be tiling up to with your tile. So dependent on your thickness of tile is going to reference whether you're going to use these wings or not. In this instance, we have 3/16 inch tile, so we're going to be able to just use this whole thing. But at this point, that's not really the important part. The important part is centering this. So the way this cover works, this is basically going to be staying on there so that you don't have thin set that goes into it. But we're going to use these little spacers to hold this together. And this is primarily just going to be so that we can reference what the center of the drain is. So we'll just thread this in. And really, we don't really want to thread it in too much. We don't want to be holding the drain up. But these little tabs here allows me to center it in the drain location. So this kind of just fits right into the drain. So this little area here positions this to be right in the center of that drain. So that's what we'll go for. That's what we want this to be, is being centered right over that drain. Okay, so now for the templating. Now we don't know where we want to come out here yet, so we're just going to extend this out past the shower area, and we'll determine that when we lay out our tile. So let's go ahead and just cut a piece here. Okay, so that's the way we're going to glue it together. So let's just make sure that this is square before we glue it. Okay, so we'll use this square up our drain. Okay, so when you're templating this, know that, make it as tight as you can, but just know that you have plenty of room all the way around the perimeter of the shower when you cut this. And really, you really do want to have a little bit of a gap around the edges of the floor all the way around for expansion and contraction of the floor. And then plus you're going to have wall tile coming down that's going to overhang it. So make it tight, but don't make it so that you can't actually get the template out of position. Okay, so that gives us a reference of where our drain is. Now, this is just for reference. We're not going to be necessarily cutting the tile on this, but that gives us an indication now. So now we can lay this out over our tile floor and then determine where we want to actually end the shower tile. Yeah, it's pretty nice. Okay, so always write top on your template. I've learned this the hard way, so make sure you reference this so you don't flip this upside down. So now we're going to use this as reference to what we want to do and how big we want to make this shower floor. So we got plenty of tile for sure. Yeah. So what would be easiest is if we can keep this on a half tile. So basically use a full piece right up against the back. And then we want to try to just match things up on either side. So this will be the cut mark. So that basically is leaving us a pretty large tile here. So we would be, basically right here. So that's a pretty big, this is the part that we'd be cutting off, so that's a pretty big piece. This is a pretty big piece here too, so this is perfect. So I would say that's a pretty good line up there, because then when we put tile over top of this, we still have a nice bit of that hexagonal tile. So we have this even up with the back, so basically cutting a half tile straight across there. And let's take a look at what this center medallion, or what the center is going to look like. So I'm gonna just reference this here. I'm just gonna mark part of this back so I don't lose my place. Same with the side here. All right, so let's just take a look at what this is going to look like if I cut this. This is just for reference. I'm not going to be using this as the actual cutting portion. I don't like this.
Why?
Because it's just kind of a sliver right up against the drain. Now we do have flexibility. Now that drain is completely centered, remember. So we have the ability to move it a ½ inch this way, a ½ inch that way. So if we wanted to even this up with this, we could. Ideally, it would be just right about there where it's got 2 full pieces you're taking out right there. So ideally it's right there because then you're gonna have a ½ a tile here, a ½ a tile here. Now you're gonna have a little bit of a bigger space because we're gonna be, if we cut right here, you're gonna have a kind of a big grout joint because that's gonna actually look kind of fairly wide compared to the other pieces. Because you would want to have an even grout joint all the way around. So having it being right here at the end is gonna show a pretty wide joint. I don't know if that's super important. I'm not 100% sure I'm gonna like that either. Let me try this over again, see if there's a better. I mean, even though I have a small piece here and a small piece here, it doesn't look, the grout joint against the drain is gonna be even. So you have a pretty small piece here. That's probably a 1-inch piece on either side here. But what you'd have is like this is a pretty big piece here, and you're gonna have the even grout joint that goes all the way around. So, you know, I tend to focus on the grout joint a lot around a drain, but it's really personal preference. So I think we're gonna go with that. I think that's gonna look good. You know, we can make minor adjustments too with the actual drain when we get there. So if something's a little bit off, you can move it, but at least we have a good indication exactly where we want to have it. So, all right, so then we'll just line that up with this, keep that there. So yeah, let's go ahead and mark this. So we're basically just gonna be taking off just a little bit off the one tile in the back here, but we still have pretty full pieces all the way around. All right, so this part is the part that we have flexibility with to make it a full piece right at the front of the shower. So you can see I want to have it right at that grout joint right there. That's kind of what I want. So I have a full pot tile right at the entrance of the shower so that looks uniform. So that's what we're going to do. We're just going to make this the edge of the shower. Oh, there, now it's working. Maybe it wasn't hot enough.
No, I think you had to unclog it. You pushed it through.
So we'll just line this up with that front, and that's where our towel is going to be set for the outside floor, right up to this. And then that'll make a nice even transition. So what is that overall here? 35.5. That's exactly where that transition is. So that's what I'm talking about, is templating this so then I have full tiles. Here, I'll just mark it just so you guys can reference this. So you can see that's a full tile right there. So that's what that'll look like. Nice.
The edge is nice and big too.
Yeah, it is.
And
Yeah.
you managed to do it mostly in the back.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, nice and uniform.
Okay, so we'll just go ahead and set this into place. We're going to keep this template here so that when we towel things, we make sure we stay at that transition. So that's basically right here is where we're going to be butting our towel directly up to. And that works out great. So we got basically an inch of room on the outside of that bench. Now, you know, if this bench needed to come out more, we can just add another piece of hydro block board on there to bring this out. And the main reason I just want at least an inch is so when I put my shower doors here, it looks good. And I actually might end up doing that just to give myself a little bit more room. But yeah, this will be directly where I'm gonna be butting my outside floor tile up to, so then I have a nice transition right where I need it.